So welcome to a special edition of In the Den. Today we're talking to John Whalley, the head coach of the Lionesses, and it's 1 year since joined the club, and what a year it's been. I mean, have you enjoyed the year, John?
Yeah, it's been great. It's gone really, really quick, and yeah, I think it's a true saying, isn't it? Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah,
So yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Lots of challenges, but I'm sure we'll cover that.
yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit more detail a little later. But of course, you've got a long history in rugby league. How did it all start for you?
Started off as a 4-year-old kid, playing with the under sevens, just joining in down at a club called Hinley in the Giants,
Right.
but quickly then became a St Jude's boy as a 8, 9-year-old kid. Yeah, and went through the setup at St Jude's. Um, Luckily to sign professionally. Uh, Played professional there, but then finished off back at St Jude's and moved off into coaching. So yeah, it's been very quickly when you say it like that. But yeah, something I'd definitely go and do again.
And we were speaking about this actually off camera. We were speaking about it yesterday that you always wanted to be a coach. You were thinking about being a coach when you were a player. Why was that? Because a lot of players don't fancy it, do they?
No, I always had an interest in obviously in rugby. Probably my missus says it all the time. I'm obsessed with it, but I think I always had that thought of coaching. It just intrigues me. It just giving back, but also developing players and having that love for the game. Just wanting to improve all the time. So yeah, I've always wanted to be a coach for a long time.
And what is it that you love about rugby league so much?
I think it's the community,
Yeah.
that feel, that environment of us being together. It's certainly a family sport. So yeah, rugby league, it's got a massive place for me. But yeah, I love it. I love the game.
And that transition from player into coaching, how did that look? Did you just do your coaching badges or did you start with juniors? What was
Yeah.
that journey?
Yeah, I started as a 17-year-old lad as a development officer. So part of my contract was I went into schools in Warrington. So quickly developed a love for that, and, developing kids in schools. But probably in my 30s, I looked at coaching, and I was given an opportunity when I finished playing to coach in the juniors at Wigan St Jude's, and I didn't want to go and coach my mates the week after I'd just finished playing, so I went down into the under 10s team,
Yeah.
did a couple of years with them, and then moved over to Wigan Warriors.
And you did boys, you did men, but now you're very much known as one of the best women's coaches. When was the transition into the women's game?
Transition would have been late 2017.
Yeah.
There was an opportunity to join the Wigan Warriors. They was just setting out their first ever women's team. So joined the coaching staff with Amanda Wilkinson. Joined that, and we set up the women's team there through a trials process. And then in 2018, at our first attempt, we won the comp. We won Super League at our first attempt. So yeah, that was the transition from probably the boys side of it. Still doing the men's side of it as well. But yeah, that was the early part of becoming a women's coach.
So 8 years ago, 9 years ago, ish, getting into the women's game, winning Super League, of course at Wigan, great victory for the club. But the difference between the women's game then and the women's game now is massive, isn't it?
Yeah, it's miles different. Looking back, um, there was hardly any girls playing. You was probably scratching around for players, like I say, with the trials process. But the level of commitment that the club's put into it now, completely different to what it was in 2017, 2018, 100%.
And what do you think are the factors that have forced that change?
It's a good question. I think with it's just the standard. The standard of players. I think there's a massive driving force for women in sport. Came from the football side of things, so I wouldn't say people have followed suit. I just think it's just them opportunities that clubs have given to players, just like the coaches. give opportunities to young players. I think it's a natural progression. So, I wouldn't be able to pinpoint one certain thing that changed things, but I just think people evolve with time, don't they? So I think it's just a natural progression.
And from Wigan, you were also involved with the international women's game. You've coached Scotland, you've done Ireland, you've been involved at Italy. What's the difference between international rugby and club rugby?
It's the performance. It's been quite lucky throughout my journey within the women's game. Is I can coach development, coach performance, but then I can coach elite. And there is difference with that. So when you're getting into international, you're dealing with the best at that level within the country. So it just there's not much difference. You just do things a lot better, under a lot more pressure. So it's just making sure that you redefine all your core skill and make sure you can do that at high intensity for a longer period of time.
Excellent. You're listening to or watching In the Den with me, Jason Harbour, and John Whalley. In the next episode of this, we'll be talking a little bit more about the Lionesses.